Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. In this episode, we're joined by Browne, who is the founder of Power Cacao, which has been featured on well-known shows like Dragon's Den here in the UK. His mission is to propel people towards self-realization and enlightenment through the yogic path and the sacred plant cacao. He is a yoga teacher and healer and empowers people to step into their own truth. Be prepared to learn the powerful health benefits of cacao, from cognitive performance to improved heart health, why quality matters, and how to choose the highest quality ceremonial grade possible, the origins and roots of cacao and why it's been used for thousands of years by our ancestors, what a cacao ceremony is and how it can lead to profound personal transformation, why cacao is better and a healthier alternative than your morning cup of coffee, and of course, so much more. Before that though, this episode is brought to you by Riverside. Riverside is an online studio platform designed to record, edit, and share high-quality podcasts built for growth from day one. Powered by AI, you can record in 4K video or from your phone and automatically remove filler words such as ums, as, you knows, and many other speech patterns. Built for human conversations, Riverside makes it super easy to start a podcast that sounds great. Ready to start your podcast and share your message with the world? Check out the link in the show note description to learn more about Riverside and get a 15%, yes, that's a 15% discount off a paid subscription. Now to today's episode. Liam, welcome to Raising Conscious today. How are you doing?
All good, mate. Yeah. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Pleasure to have you here on the podcast today. My first question for you is, who are you and what do you do?
Who am I? My name is Browne, and primarily I'm a yoga teacher, so I propel people on their spiritual path towards self-realization and enlightenment via various yogic practices, teachings, the main one of those things being cacao ceremonies, which are basically a 5-hour shamanic plant medicine ceremony that basically rattles people up, brings to the surface things that aren't serving them anymore and gives them a safe space to be able to kind of process that, bring a new perspective to those issues and take back their power in their life and sort of leave feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, inspired and lighter, which is a kind of what happens by practicing physical yoga, but it can take a few years to get to that stage. And I found that within a 5-hour cacao ceremony, I can get somebody to the stage that it would take me a few years if they were coming to my class once or twice a week. So it is pretty magical.
What are the steps?
And I'm the founder of Power Cacao, which is my business. Yep.
Yeah, well, we'll link that down below. In terms of that, the ceremony you mentioned now, I'm very curious on like the steps. Like, what are if there are steps? You know, you're saying it's a 5-hour journey. Like, what actually happens during a ceremony?
What happens within the ceremony? So we will drink 50 grams of full power cacao, ceremonial grade cacao. Then we will kind of like connect with the energy of Lady Cacao, ground ourselves energetically in sort of a meditative state, offer all the fruits and the benefits of the practice up to a higher source. We chant a little bit and then we'll kind of go into like my story, why I'm stood there in front of these people, the benefits of cacao versus coffee, you know, the possibilities of the changes that people can make within the ceremony. And then we'll go into like some shamanic drumming, which will be call and response. So I'll have 170, sometimes 250 people repeating what I sing to them back at me. And then we kind of do quite a lot of drumming, a lot of Indian mantra on the harmonium. And then we will drop into a guided meditation where I'll take people on a journey with breath work, and then with a lot of mantra and a lot of deep release work. So we call in the energies of kind of like the Christ conscious energy, higher beings, a lot of Indian gods, goddesses, and start to work with that energy. But mainly it's a big kind of like purgative moment for people to be able to almost have like an ayahuasca experience, but within this really safe, legal space via using cacao and this kind of like forcefulness that I have as a teacher to sort of try and get results there and then, and not let people kind of like just come and turn up and not put the effort in, because I can facilitate the space, but I can't force anybody into doing anything. So it's trying to kind of be forceful to get people to clear their bullshit that's holding them back in life and step into a more beautiful version of themselves. Then it's a lot more mantra, a lot more singing. I use a lot of drum and bass and dancing and movement within the ceremonies. A lot of times we'll have a live DJ, and then we just drop some bangers towards the end, so people can go on this journey of like release. There's always a lot of tears because people are bringing up traumas from their past and they're putting a new perspective on it. We're giving people permission to realize that they have a choice in every decision, every moment of their life. There's always a choice of what they're doing, to not be blaming other people, to sort of take responsibility for where their life is. They are the director, the architect of that life. So take responsibility, whether that's magnificent or whether that's actually, really bad at the moment. But just to know from whatever starting point you're at, there's a possibility, if you start taking action, to get to wherever you want to be in your wildest dreams in this incarnation. So it's just kind of giving people back their power and taking them on that journey, and like the results that we get are just incredible. From going from holding ceremonies for 4 people in a tent 4 years ago, between 4 and 10 it usually was, to now holding spaces for like anything between 100 and 350, sometimes 500 people at a festival, is phenomenal. And the reaction that we get, especially from skeptics, we always love the skeptics the most, because they come in and go, this guy's bullshit, this guy's swearing, he can't be spiritual if he's swearing. And then they just have this deep release and they're like, oh my God, like, and they love it because it's almost like an oxymoron, or like a juxtapose that's quite distorting for people, to get taken, this kind of shouty, sweary Mancunian, and then me to take them on this really spiritual journey where they kind of do actually release a lot and feel the benefits at the end of it. And I can do that in half an hour at a festival. People are like, what the fuck, man? But like in the 5-hour ceremonies is a lot more of a deeper journey.
And why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? I don't think I really had a choice. It was kind of it's just following the energy. Really, I was teaching yoga. I didn't really know what I was doing for quite a while. I had all these different strings to my bow: music, poetry, art, creativity, yoga, spirituality, philosophy, all these things. And it kind of like, I was a builder and painter and decorator, tree surgeon, and all these different things. And all my mates were just like, you just do mad shit all the time, man. And then eventually they were like, you should focus on the yoga. And they all thought that was the physical yoga. And I realized now that it was, it was a slow burner from me discovering cacao in 2012 to actually in 2020 realizing, oh, this is the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. Just based on like the energy and people wanting it from me, people wanting to learn from me, specifically with cacao. And then also, I was doing really well as a yoga teacher, don't get me wrong, like teaching physical asana. However, it was the cacao was kind of like, I'm one of the oldest running people of doing cacao ceremonies in the UK. I've been doing them for 12 years now. And it was just kind of like everything that I'd been learning the past 8 years before 2020 were just to be able to make me be able to hold this space within a cacao ceremony. And until I started doing them more regularly, I didn't realize that all these elements from the past learnings that I'd had were all basically, it felt like the spirit of Lady Cacao was kind of putting me in these situations, and then eventually just went, right, you're ready now. So I kind of didn't have a choice in a way. It was just like to trust the energy, to trust that, go with the things that I feel successful and that people really want. And I just kind of went with that. And then once I started teaching people how to hold ceremonies, it just kind of took it all to another level. And then with the brand as well, like, kind of, that's been like a really amazing journey with the cacao, ceremonial grade cacao brand, Full Power Cacao. It's just gone from strength to strength. Same as everything that we're doing, really, is just like, amazing, and it just allows us to be super creative. We're hoping, well, we're gonna launch a clothing brand next year as well, which is exciting. So yeah, it was just kind of like, why did I do that? I don't really think I was. There was never any like intention of doing what I've done until kind of 2020, and then it was just kind of like going with the flow. But there was a mission to be like a global cacao brand, Full Power Cacao, to be that this
Mm.
first ever global cacao brand, which is, we're well on the way to achieving that, which is something remarkable. It's amazing.
What is cacao? For those who are watching or listening and they're like, well, they're talking about cacao, like, what is it?
What
What
is
is it?
cacao? Cacao is a plant
Yeah.
medicine. It is it's what all chocolate's made from, but most kind of like chocolate you'll find in the supermarket is missing 99% of the active ingredients that is in cacao. So it's basically got hardly any of the benefits that are in cacao within chocolate. And most people's chocolate is grown in Africa in monoculture, with the lowest grade of cacao tree, which is the Forastero. Whereas our cacao is Criollo cacao. It is grown where it is indigenously found, which is in Central and South America, 20 degrees either side of the equator. And Criollo is basically the highest grade of cacao, which is the most difficult to grow. It's very delicate. And then it, cacao, the benefits of it, it's a superfood. It's really good for your health. It's really good for your gut health. It's amazing for your cognition because it's the flavonoid and the magnesium content is amazing for women as well, because the iron, magnesium, and flavonoid content, women get depleted in iron and magnesium during their cycles. So amazing for like perimenopausal, menopausal, lead up to period, during period. And then it's also helps with stem cell regeneration. There's been a lot of science done on that. And yeah, it's great for your gut, great for your heart health. 1 in 5 people globally die of heart-related diseases. So if you start drinking cacao, it's a lot better for your heart. Gives your heart a little workout without you actually even having to do anything. And then hopefully at some point after that, you'll go and do an actual physical workout. But yeah, it's just getting the heart, increasing the heart rate a little bit, which some people, don't do very often, which is kind of what we need to do for longevity of life and health and wellness.
What are the major benefits from a health perspective that you've seen from cacao and from your community, like you personally and your community, the feedback from your community? Sorry.
Um, Tons and tons of things. A lot of the things that I've just mentioned, but then also cacao is a natural antidepressant. It is the only food in the world that contains a chemical called anandamide. Ananda is a Sanskrit word which means bliss. So basically, if you're drinking cacao, ceremonial grade cacao, you are drinking anandamide, which is the bliss molecule. So what anandamide does scientifically is it helps to release manageable amounts of serotonin, dopamine, phenethylamine, all the tryptophan, all these kind of like bliss chemicals, these chemicals that that are released during like lovemaking or falling in love, or feeling that love for a spouse or a child, whatever it may be. So these chemicals are being released in manageable amounts via the anandamide content within cacao. So what we find a lot of benefits that people have get is mental health, coming out of depression, actually getting on their path, getting focused on what they should be doing in the world, changing their jobs, changing their partners, changing their eating habits. The emails that we've had over the last 3 years have just been phenomenal, with people, actually clearing their mind, making space, being able to like see things differently, to be able to sit down, people that are, manic, and just like, it just really chilled me out. I actually spent 5 minutes sat on my kitchen chair just looking out the window, and I've never done that before. I try and force myself to it. So just like, seriously, like the benefits are just amazing. The stories that we get of just people thanking us because cacao's been like a really major part of them making positive shifts within their life. Because like drinking a cacao, it's almost like you've got this little supportive friend by your side, like really loving, wanting the best for you. Because cacao has like a spiritual energy, is opening the heart chakra, is wanting the heart to expand, and is wanting every human being on the planet to be living their life purpose. If every human being on the planet is living their life purpose, there is no depression, there's no anxiety, there's no war, there's no fear, there's no destruction. There's just like purpose, focus. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm supposed to be doing from that, from the highest perspective. So yeah, it's that massive heart opener, and heart medicine. That's the main thing, really. What cacao is equated to in a sort of spiritual consciousness community is like to open the heart, and when that heart is shining brightly, to really put love into all the toxicity, all the traumas that have happened. You can't change the content of your life. You can change the context in which you view it, and you can make everything that bad happened in your life to be your most favorable circumstances to make you the most powerful human being that you can be.
What's the, I guess, best way for people to consume it? A few times you've said a drink. Is that what? Is that like
Some
the best
crazy
way for
people
people to
snort it, but I
consume it?
think they're just like going back into bad old habits because
Yeah.
you'd have to snort a hell of a lot. I wouldn't like to snort 50 grams of cacao to get a little bit high, but yeah, just drinking it, just making it into you make it almost like you get little bits of paste, like broken pieces of chocolate almost, put it into a pan, whisk it into a paste with a bit of plant milk, or water. Um, like you would make a roux, you would just kind of make it into like a gravy, so you get rid of all the little bits, make it nice and smooth, and then add the rest of your plant milk or water, and then any ingredients. So we got loads of recipes on our website, like at fullpowercacao.com, on our YouTube channel. People can go over there and get inspired by some of the recipes on there, or they can just get creative. But we like to our main thing that we use in ceremonies is a little bit of agave, a little bit of coconut sugar, a pinch of Himalayan salt, and oat milk. That's how we make it.
We'll get back talking to Liam Browne in just one moment, but before we do so, I would just like to mention Real Superfoods. Real Superfoods is on a mission to make superfoods like cacao more accessible to everyone without sacrificing or compromising quality. I've tried and very much enjoyed their cacao products, whether that's their Cacao Dream Blend, which is a alternative to your shop-bought sugar-loaded hot chocolate, to their superfood energy bars. In fact, if you head on over to my Instagram, scroll through the feed, you'll be able to see me unboxing their superfood energy bars, including their hazelnut cacao bar, which tastes pretty good. You can get your hands on their Cacao Dream product, superfood energy bars, or any other product that they sell by going to their website using the link in the show note description and code RC20 for 20% off your first purchase. That's RC20 for 20% off your first purchase. Now, let's get back to today's episode. I asked that because I guess there's some research that I've kind of seen around having dark chocolate. And I guess I'm kind of making it because obviously cacao or chocolate kind of comes from cacao. I wasn't sure if there was not necessarily the chocolate you find in the supermarket, but like a version of cacao kind of in a dark kind of chocolate product that is healthy as well, if that makes sense. Not obviously packed with the other shit we kind of see in the supermarket. If that makes sense, like I don't know, 100% dark chocolate. Yeah, if that makes sense. If that has
Well,
some of the same
100% what
benefits.
they would, yeah, 100% dark chocolate would still be, it would have still had the fats removed, so it would still only be like 50% of what cacao would include within it. Because they play around with it, they mess about with it, and actually all the studies that have been done on dark chocolate, it's the big corporations pulling the wool over people's eyes, because they do those studies on ceremonial grade criollo cacao, and they class that as dark chocolate, which it isn't. It's dark chocolate's had the fat removed, so it's actually not got those benefits that cacao has got within it, ceremonial grade cacao. But they test it on cacao and use that evidence to support their narrative that dark chocolate is good for you, and it is slightly better for you than the milk chocolate, of course. However, it's not quite what they say it is. But yeah, like I said, is a rarity that you would find a chocolate in the supermarket that is not missing at least, like a really, really good bar of chocolate will still be missing 87% of the natural ingredients, chemical compounds, nutritional content that is found in ceremonial grade criollo cacao.
And that's because just to confirm, just to clarify, that's because of like the fats mostly that they remove from it.
Yeah, and the processing. Every time cacao goes through a process,
Mm.
it loses some of its nutritional content. If it gets heated up above 36, I think it's 36 or 46, whatever the temperature that removes the qualification of something being raw. Every time it gets heated up at a certain temperature, every time it gets the fats removed, every time it goes through a mechanical process, it loses some of its nutritional content and its power, its strength. And yeah, so even if I take my cacao, which is one of the finest cacaos on the planet, if I put that in a NutriBullet, the drink, it will change the potency of it, which is very, very interesting. I don't know the science behind it. I'm just guessing it's that mechanical process that it doesn't like, and it must mess up the molecular structure of the cacao in that process. So, yeah, like I said, even my cacao, if I put it in a NutriBullet, it's not as strong afterwards.
It's interesting how like these processes like change the makeup of our, if it's cacao or any food really, is something that I've kind of been researching a bit more. How like the processes change the structure and everything of our foods and stuff. Which is interesting.
Yeah, pretty much with most foods. That's why it's like, a lot of health and nutritional experts will say stay clear of processed foods as much as possible. So yeah, like we're well behind that. I mainly my diet is plant-based. Um, so yeah, that's as much fruit and vegetables as possible.
Mm.
Is always on my list. But I can be a little bit naughty every now and again. I think I'd start worrying if I put on about 5 stone, but I'm quite fit and healthy, so it's all good for my age.
Liam, I'm going to refer to it as kind of like quote unquote ancient wisdom behind cacao. Like how many years has like our ancestors been using this powerful um it's a bean, right? I think, if I'm
Yeah,
not
cacao.
mistaken, or a
Yeah, well,
seed.
it's
Yeah,
actually a fruit. It's a bean within a fruit.
fruit.
It's
Mm.
almost like when it's on the tree. It's almost like a papaya with fruit inside it, and these little membranes. It's got these little beans inside. Yeah, as I guess history is always being proven and disproven, and it's as long as a piece of string. But initial kind of like recordings of it are like 4,000 years ago during the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Incas, all kind of Central South American based. Um, but as long as cacao's been growing, humans would have been using it in those lands, which humans have been on the planet for millions of years. I'm guessing cacao probably has been on the planet for millions of years. Every every cacao brand in every country says that their cacao is the first cacao that ever existed on Earth, which is the same as ours. Out in Venezuela, they say that Gurese is the first cacao. Guasare, that's how you pronounce it, is the first cacao that ever existed on Earth. And then you've got the Criollo Porcelina, the Criollo Rojo, and they're even a bit more delicate than the Criollo that we use. But yeah, it kind of goes back. Obviously, the Mayans are the most famous for using it because it's depicted in a lot of their temples, a lot of their hieroglyphs. And basically, in those lands with the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Incas, the Olmecs, it was kind of like whoever was controlling the cacao territories was the most powerful um, at that time. And cacao was also used as currency back in those days as well. So, like, one cacao bean would get you a tomato, three would get you an avocado, 100 cacao beans would get you a chicken. So it was kind of, they would call it gold. It was like chocolate gold is what it got translated to because it was a currency.
It's interesting. Yeah, I think I read somewhere that it was like, I think so. There's this website, and it had like all these different kind of foods that were have been utilized for like thousands of years, and cacao was one of them. And I think like next to it, it said like superfood of the gods or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Superfood of the gods. So Theobroma is a name that was given to cacao by a Swedish botanist. Like, I can't remember when it was. It was a long time ago. And the translation of Theobroma is a Greek word that means food of the gods. So yeah, it's because of its medicinal properties. It was, it's been said that it was used a lot before warriors would go out fighting or go to war. It was also used a lot before tribes people went hunting, and it was also apparently used a lot during pregnancy. And in those times, it's said that cacao was almost drunk like champagne is here, where the aristocrats, the upper classes would drink cacao pretty much every day, and the servants would make it every day. Well, they would drink it every day. They drank it every day, and the kind of the common people, normal people, would just drink cacao maybe like christenings, festivals, carnivals, weddings, things like that.
Why is it best to drink it in the morning? Just going back to that point you mentioned earlier.
Just because it's good, it's a good start to your day. If you've got a morning ritual of practices, breath work, yoga, meditation, it just allows you to go a little bit deeper. It's also, it's if you have, if you have it late at night, for some people it can be overstimulating and it can affect your sleep. So we always just recommend have it in the morning, get up, start your day. Like most people start the day with a cup of coffee, which is putting them into fight and flight mode. It's putting them, making them a little bit anxious, a little bit jittery. It's like, right, get to work, drink a coffee, have another coffee at 11, boom, get through the day, have another coffee at just after lunch, get through the rest of the day. Where cacao is just like, drink a cacao in the morning, go into work nice and chilled, feel creative, feel happy, open your heart already. You might have done your breath work or your meditation. Even if you're not into that, you just, like some people that have drank our cacao, they go, I've just replaced cacao with coffee. I don't do any of your spiritual bullshit and I feel loads better. Do you know what I mean? And that's amazing to me. And that's why we went on Dragons Den. It was like to give people this other option to coffee that will kind of stimulate, make your day more productive, more creative, but also make you feel better and be getting all the benefits of the cacao. Even if you're not connecting to the spiritual side of it, you'll feel the benefits like within kind of like 3 to 5 days, which is incredible. The amount of people that message us and go, it took me a week and I've done with coffee. I'm just on the cacao all the time now, which is amazing.
So a lot of people are religious, like over their coffee, right? So it's kind of interesting to hear those experiences and stories as well. Have you had any kind of pushback, and like if somebody is listening to this and they are a coffee drinker and go through that morning routine, right, of like, and just that daily routine of needing that next coffee to like just get to 11 and then 1 and then the evening, etc., what would be your biggest message around cacao of like why they should switch?
Firstly, because coffee is tapping you into your sympathetic nervous system, which puts you into your fight and flight response network, which makes you a little bit anxious, a little bit jittery, a little bit on edge, a little bit frantic. It's kind of like, my analogy is coffee is like swimming in a sea of razor blades. It's spiky. It's not supportive. It's just get through the day. If I was to have a strong coffee, I'd be tripping out, man. I can't focus. I can't really get stuff done. It's definitely not for me, because some coffee companies have sent me coffee and said, coffee's good for you for this. And it's like, I can't do shit. I'm tripping if I drink coffee. I'm like, this is not for me. My heart starts beating too much. I feel frantic. And I know a lot of people who go on the spiritual journey or become more aware of the body or stop drinking or make some positive changes. Like we had Gary Neville on our podcast and he was saying, since he sort of started adjusting his diet, adjusting the amount he drank, he was aware that coffee was making him a little bit anxious and a little bit jittery. Whereas cacao taps you into your parasympathetic nervous system, and allows you to be creative, calm, inspired, and heart-centered and from this loving space. And it's kind of like, floating on a cloud and being given a beautiful cuddle at the same time. So I think for a lot of people, coffee is just like, it's a habit. Like I like the taste of coffee. Yeah. But if I can get something that's really good for me, I like the taste of chocolate. I like the taste of cacao. If I sweeten it, put a little bit of salt in, for me, it beats coffee all day long. So for a lot of people, it's like we've become drug addicts to coffee. People are just like, it's everywhere. And that's when I was starting my business. I was just looking around, like being at hotels and stuff and just going, man, like, even when we get like 5% of this market, that's like billions and billions of pounds. And we can do so much good with that money once we take this switch. Because the cacao shaman, when I met him in 2012, he basically said that cacao would take over from coffee by 2032. And when in 2012, nobody knew what cacao was. You know, when I was telling people about cacao, nobody knew about it. When I was doing ceremonies, I would get a few people coming. It's like now, pretty much most people have heard of cacao. So this kind of like snowball effect, which is happening now, where we're getting restaurants, cafes, spas, yoga studios. Everybody just is wanting to serve cacao now, and they don't want to miss the boat in terms of like being the last one in their area to start serving cacao, because it's going to be on every menu. Everywhere you can get a coffee and a tea, cacao will be on the menu. It is already on the menu in, you know, kind of more progressive places, Totnes, Glastonbury, Berlin, Brighton. You know, these places that LA, you can get cacao everywhere in LA, New York. So it's you know, those places are usually places where things start that become global. So that's our mission anyway, is to become the first global cacao brand, and to be really a major catalyst in cacao taking over from coffee. Because if we could do that, like tomorrow, the world would be a more beautiful place instantaneously, which would be fucking amazing.
Do most people, like, if you walk down the street and said, "Have you heard of cacao?" Do most people still associate it with chocolate?
Yeah, I guess so. You know, for some of my staff, they say, you know, it's the purest form of chocolate. But for me, I'm like, no, I like to see it as a different product, because it's like, you know, me having 1% cotton in a polyester shirt and calling it cotton. You know, it's not cotton. And cacao is not chocolate. So I try and get everybody who works for me just to keep saying cacao, and saying actually all chocolate derives from cacao, but derives from a lesser quality of cacao. And my big thing is, you know, for the last 3 years has been really educating people on cacao, on the benefits, what it's good for, where it's grown, the history of it, all these things. And it's kind of like, it's been an amazing journey to realize now that a lot of people have heard of it. And it's educating them in terms of like, because people, when we went on Dragons Den, people were like, well, I can get this cacao cheaper here. And it's like, yeah, you can, but you can get a bottle of wine for £2 and you can get a £200,000 bottle of wine. And cacao's exactly the same. You've got harvests, you've got different regions which have better quality cacao. You've got the way it's produced, the way it's fermented, the way it's dried out, the way it's then processed is different wherever you go. So you've got, it's like a, you know, like a winery. You've got somebody who is shit hot at producing wine, but they will still have variations from year to year because you've got different crops. It's a natural product, like cacao is. Some people sometimes I'll get a crop come over and people go, oh, it tastes slightly different. I'm like, yeah, it's a natural product, man. It's gonna taste slightly different. Do you know what I mean? It's not a massive difference, but there's always going to be something slight, depending on soil quality, depending on air quality, depending on rainfall, depending on humidity. All these things have an effect on the yield and the quality and the consistency and the taste of the cacao, just like they do with wine. So I kind of try and use that analogy a lot now with people that I'm trying to educate on cacao, and the fact that, yeah, you can go and get an 8 pound kilo bag of cacao, but I can assure you, if you drank my cacao compared to that, you would instantly realize why that's £8 and why mine's 55.
I think you've answered my next question in terms of, does quality matter, and what do people look out for when they are choosing their cacao? So I think from that, quality does matter. But when they are choosing
Yeah,
their cacao, is there anything specifically that you recommend they look out for, or yeah, what's the advice there?
I think it's basically, as human beings, we're all carrying different energy signatures. So it's just to try a few and see which ones resonate with you. You know, we have thousands and thousands of comments, probably, you know, hundreds of thousands of comments where people are just like, oh my God, this is the best ceremonial grade cacao I've ever tasted. But, you know, it's not for everybody. Like, I've tried most ceremonial grade cacaos on the planet. There's some other ones that I really resonate with, and there's some that I just cannot even palate. Would not put it in my mouth. Like, it's just not for me. The energy of it, the taste of it, the consistency of it. But you know, everything that we choose is done on energy. We choose our cacao based on energy and how it works in ceremony, not taste was never a thing. We just kind of like were blessed by the cacao gods that we ended up with the best tasting cacao on the planet. That's something that I don't even think is debatable. I think ours taste the best, and most people support that. There is a couple of other cacaos on the market that have a similar potency, which I would also use in my ceremonies, and I have in years gone by used those cacaos in my ceremonies, and they would get my mark of approval. There's a brand called Jasper's Cacao, and I sampled their cacao at an event a couple of weeks ago, and that was really beautiful. And my whole thing is about supporting the whole cacao industry. I know I've inspired a lot of people to start cacao brands over the last couple of years, and which is awesome. And people go, is that not competition? I was like, no, that's raising the profile of cacao. I want as many brands that come from a heart space to be doing it as possible. Those that aren't coming from the heart space, that are coming from like, oh, this is a way to make money, they won't last very long, because we're moving into this age of Aquarius, this awakening, this consciousness, and especially working with plant medicines like this, you've got to be coming from the heart space, which is super important.
What's the spiritual side to cacao?
What's the spiritual side to it? It's just
Yeah.
that inner connection. Like I said before, the purpose of it, like for people to be living their life purpose, for you to be working through your chakras. So almost, like I said, it's that supportive. I never know how to pronounce this word, elixir, that can support you during your spiritual
Elixir, yeah.
practices, but
Okay.
also cacao to be a major part of that awakening for you. Sometimes to do your own ceremonies, for you to use it as a heart opener when you go to like dances, events, walks, connecting with nature, cold water therapy. When people doing yoga retreats, the facilitators will always ask me, when should I serve the cacao? I was like, as soon as they get there, man. Get it in them as soon as possible, because it opens people up. It allows people to connect quicker with each other, to break down a lot of those barriers that we have up when we first meet new people. And my analogy is that I don't know if you drink, or you used to drink, but when I used to start a new job at a place, it'd be like you'd feel a little bit uncomfortable around the new crowd when I was a kid, and then you'd go out and get drunk, and then you was part of the team. And cacao's kind of like that, but without the messiness and without the drama and the mess that you've probably created at the same time. So cacao is just like this. It's aiding people to go deeper on their journey. It releases a lot of emotion, a lot of past traumas. It gives us fresher perspectives and ways of looking at things, to be supportive of us rather than to be like, the things that are preventing us from achieving our goals, or the excuses that we've made up in our own head about why we shouldn't be doing the things that we feel we should be doing.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess with that question, I was just trying to understand like why cacao specifically, if that makes sense. Like, why not another natural food or something like from nature, right? Like, what is it about cacao specifically that helps us like
But I
within
think it's
us?
because of
Yeah.
that nutritional content and what that does to you in terms of the brain, in terms of your
Mm.
cognition, in terms of we're in a world at the moment that's going through a mental health crisis, which is great because the world's fucked. So you should be going through a mental health crisis in a way if you're not aware. Um, so it's oxygenating the brain, allowing people to come out of the brain and into the heart. Give them a little bit of a breather, because some people's minds are just like blah 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 blah, toxic, like constant toxic thoughts, or just even some people maybe not toxic, but just always associating with the mind and the stories that are going around in the mind. And in yoga, we call that chittavritti narodaha, which means to still the fluctuations of the mind. And chittavritti narodaha, yogash chittavritti narodaha means when you cease to identify with the fluctuations of the mind, then there is yoga. So then there is bliss, enlightenment, union with others and with the true self. So it's to realize that the brain is an amazing tool, an amazing muscle and function, but it's not you. It's something you use to get things done. Whereas when we drop into the heart space, that's who you are, that's your essence, and it's allowing that to flourish and out of the head into the heart, and allow things to blossom from that heart space at that sort of level, which is really beautiful to see with a lot of people, connecting deeper with family members connecting deeper with their partners, their children. Everything is with nature is a amazing thing, and with music, man. Like to be able to connect on that deeper level without using class A drugs, and that's another reason why it's getting so popular at the moment compared to other plant medicines, because it puts you into an altered state within a ceremony, whereas ayahuasca, these deeper plant medicines that are illegal, they shouldn't be illegal because they're improved. You shouldn't be taking them in public, but it shouldn't be illegal to do an ayahuasca ceremony. But these are like really kind of like heavy duty medicines that can really mess with you, and you need somebody that can really hold the space. You know, people are being sick, people vomit during ayahuasca ceremonies, whereas cacao is kind of like this really beautiful kind of legal way. Nobody's worried about, you know, the police coming to one of our events and busting it up. So it's like and it's not psychedelic, it's psychoactive, so it allows people to go on their own journey, and go as deep as they want to go. Whereas you go on an ayahuasca trip and you go, I want it to stop now. You can't stop it. It's going to last for as long as it lasts.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to come on to that in terms of like the difference between the two, because I guess being in this space, having the podcast, pitching or potential guests kind of coming to me. There's been some that kind of are really in that space, and I'm always open and curious to kind of learn about these different plant medicines, etc. Some
Yeah.
people might be like nervous about kind of going on those types of experiences, and so when we're hearing about cacao, would you say that cacao is a great alternative to going on a ayahuasca trip or something?
Definitely. I think if you're new to that kind of world and you want a kind of first sort of step into the world of plant medicines, which, you know, every time I do a ceremony, there's at least like 10, 15, 20 people that have not done a plant medicine ceremony before. Sometimes people haven't even drank cacao when they come to a ceremony, and it's like my cacao ceremonies. Some people's cacao ceremonies are very gentle, just like sit round, have a little chat. Mine are like, I want you to leave transformed. I want you to leave like you have been to a plant medicine ceremony. I want you to leave committed to making some positive changes in your life in the next few days. I want you to leave with that fresh perspective of life. And for me, when I've done ayahuasca, when I've done plant medicine, it's very, very deep. It takes a long time for me to process. And for somebody starting on that dipping their toes into this world of spirituality, that's kind of like diving in at the deep end. Going on an ayahuasca trip straight off. So it was, I think cacao ceremonies are very, very nice way and path. I always wind people up on my ceremonies that, you know, this time next year they're going to be in Peru or doing ayahuasca, because this is the start of their plant medicine journey. But a lot of people, they just stay with cacao, like they don't want to go any deeper than that. It's not always calling people to go and do the more intense medicines and sit with the shamans in Peru or in wherever it may be, Ecuador, Brazil. So yeah, it's just kind of like a nice. I wouldn't say my ceremonies were a gentle opener into the world of plant medicine, but most people's ceremonies are a gentle opener into the world of plant medicine. Mine are very intense, and I try and really push people and get results. That's my main focus, is to make sure the majority of people are leaving there with different ways of thinking of things, with their consciousness shifted, upgraded, up leveled, and with this impetus to make some real positive change in their life.
And what does consciousness mean to you?
What does consciousness mean to me? I guess consciousness is everything, is God, is creator, is the universe, and our individual consciousness is to come back into our consciousness and remove all the things that are preventing us from having that true connection to the divine nature of multidimensional cosmic consciousness. Because, you know, we've just had things forced upon us by schools, by parents, by governments, that a lot of people are doing these plant medicines to just cleanse themselves of that bullshit and free themselves from the matrix that is holding them into a certain way of, you know, you can only be this, you can only do this, you need to get a job to support your family or whatever. We all need to be working, but the one guarantee is you can't get rich by having a job. So abundance, like I really hit abundance hard in the last few years, and I've been on my own abundance journey since the start of 2020. From eating in a Sikh temple and having £0 as a 37-year-old or whatever I was, 38-year-old male, and feeling like, wow, how do I have no money? I should be, I want to support a family, I want to support a community. I've got no money. I'm eating at a Sikh temple because I'm out of money. Like, this is not good. So I just kind of went on this abundance journey, obviously with cacao as well, supporting me during that, and just changed my perspective of abundance. And cacao is a lot about abundance. Cacao is the medicine of fertility, of prosperity, of just stepping into your kind of like abundance. And that's, it doesn't matter where you're from, your socio-economic background. We can all step into an abundant way of living and change our paradigm and our programming to, certain people. You're from here, you can't go beyond that unless you're a drug dealer or this or that. And it's actually if I focus on wealth and I focus on abundance and I focus on learning about money, because a lot of people are scared, especially in the spiritual community, of even mentioning the word money. It's like, oh, it's dirty. It's like, you use it every day, man. Unless you're living off grid and you're growing all your own food, you use money every day. So you might as well get comfortable with that shit, and actually realize that it's the thing that, it's a way of exchange. People exchange using money. So it's like, a lot of books that I've read, it's like, when I am selling cacao, am I confident that the person who's buying it from me is getting 7 times the value that I am charging them for that? And I'm very confident. And when people come to my ceremonies, there's a guy called MJ DeMarco. He's got 2 books. One's called Sidewalker or Side Hustler, and another's called The Fast Lane Millionaire. Really good books. And again, not somebody that I would particularly resonate with or think was on the spiritual path. However, some amazing teachings within his books, which can step you into a different mindset and mentality towards your relationship with money. Another one that I read was I'm a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero, who's a New York lady. She's got a series of these I'm a Badass books. Again, giving you permission to be like, I can be spiritual, I can be connected, I can be wealthy. Why can I not be spiritual and wealthy? Do I have to be spiritual and poor? What's the difference? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just energy. And when you realize that money is energy, you can have a better relationship with it. And I really changed my relationship with money, changed my relationship as a working class chip on my shoulder. That is all the faults of the upper class and the people with money, and they should be sharing it. And that's all bullshit, man. It's like, go make your own money, go and be successful in your own right. No one can take that away from you.
Why do you think the spiritual community kind of has that association kind of with money?
Because they've been programmed into it. There's a spiritual programming within that kind of lack hippie mentality, which, I kind of bought into that a lot. But also, it's just like, it's being stuck. It's untruth. If everybody goes deep enough into their heart, they want to be rich because it gives you ultimate opportunities. And if you can do that from a heart space, you can create so much beauty in the world. But then also, like, it's everybody says, if I won the lottery, I'd do this. Do you know what I mean? So that's having an attachment to being rich. Yeah. Most people that win the lottery, it's a fucking waste of time, because until you change your mentality and your connection and you do some work on wealth and understanding of finance, of money, if you win the lottery, you're just going to lose it. It's like, oh, you've just won £50,000. What are you going to do? I'm going to go and buy a new car. It's like, that's a shit investment. You've instantly lost on that investment. That's not an investment. Yeah. So that's what most people would do. And with money, money, if you wanted to cook a lasagna, yeah, and you'd never cooked one before, you would surely go and get a recipe, go and buy the ingredients, and start working on your perfect lasagna. You might not get it perfect the first time, but then you might make it even better the next time. You might add a little bit. You might realize, oh, I didn't put that thing in the recipe suggested. Money's exactly the same. There's recipes out there. Go and learn about it. Go and get books about it. Go and study it. Everybody's scared to death of studying it, but they want it. Yeah. And that's not even just spiritual people. That's normal people. It's like, I want to be rich. I want to win the lottery. It's like, it's a waste of time, unless you've got that education and that understanding and that respect for money, and you realize you've got to give to receive. You've got to be like, giving. You've got to be generous, and you've got to trust that it comes back. give comes back even more. So it's like to create that beautiful symbiotic relationship with money and with abundance, and get, it's like God. It's like when I first started saying God, it was really difficult for me to say the word God. Yeah, and a lot of spiritual people, it's really difficult for them to say, I want to be rich. I want to be fucking rich. Yeah, they're scared to death of saying it, like, because it's like, well, people are going to judge me if I want to be rich. But inside them all, they all want to be fucking rich, man, because you're supposed to be rich. You're here to be a king, to be a god, to be able to like go and just go, yo guys, it's not from an ego place, but just like, I'm going to get this meal. I feel like I'm going to get this meal tonight. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to drop a meal and spend £300 on everybody. That is a beautiful thing. And that was something that I really, really focused on for a long time. From being at that, from eating at that Sikh temple and having £0 to then seeing my mate like come to one of my events about a year after I'd started my abundance journey. And it was actually, he didn't come to one of my events. He came to my birthday, a guy that I knew. And he only came for 10 minutes and he went, I'm going to get a bill. Don't tell anybody. And he just paid the bill. And I was like, wow, I want to be able to do that. That's not, and he didn't do it from ego. He was just like, I'll get this, man. Don't worry. It's your birthday and I'll cover everybody. It was like a £300 bill. And I was like, how long until I do that? And I did it within 2 months, where I just paid a bill that I would not usually pay. And I was like, bang. And it felt nice. And it wasn't from an ego. It was like, this is nice. And to have the ability to do that and then continually have been doing that for the last 3 years is really beautiful.
Yeah, it fits into that abundance piece we were talking, or you were sharing earlier, which is like being in that kind of vibration, I guess, and just like living from that place. So amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Liam. Liam, thank you for your time today. It's been awesome conversation. Obviously learning all about cacao and a little bit more about your story and background and journey. What would be your one parting message with our audience today, for them to take away?
Keep going deeper, keep looking at yourself, improving, and really, study yoga. Yoga is this study of life, the study of self, and and it's a scientifically proven path to a better life, to enlightenment. So for me, it's like, really, study yoga, find a good teacher, find a guru, read books, and just go on your journey to an even better version of yourself. And don't ever think you've made it, because there's no ceiling on how amazing you can be.
I echo that. Where do people go if they want to keep up to date with everything that you've got going on?
So the website is fullpowercacao.com. My personal website where they can book on ceremonies and do our cacao facilitator training is liambrowne.com. And then all our socials are Full Power Cacao. So at Full Power Cacao, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are.
How often do you do the ceremonies?
We do the ceremony. We do a tour in March, April. So we go all around the UK. We just did a ceremony in Guildford on Sunday for 100 people. The next one is in Manchester on the 1st of December, but that's sold out. We've sold 170 tickets to that. So we'll start putting more events for 2025 on the website in the next sort of 6 weeks. We'll start dropping the dates for our tour. So hopefully we'll be in a town or a city near a lot of your listeners, and they can come and check out and see what it's all about.
Excellent. Well, Liam, thank you again once again for today. Fascinating conversation, and I will excuse me. I'll add all those links in the description in the show notes below. I hope that you've enjoyed my conversation today with Liam Browne, where we've been discussing all things cacao and have learned what it actually is, its profound health benefits, how it's more than just where our chocolate originates from, and how it can aid to deep spiritual growth and personal transformation. What are you taking away from this episode, and what steps are you going to take as a result? Leave a comment or review below this episode, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you get your podcasts from. I read and reply to every comment and look forward to sharing the next episode of the podcast with you really, really soon. See you then.